let's dive into the narration of the entire first episode of One Piece live action. So, loading. Hello friends, this is the Manga Information channel and we've got some exciting updates here. But before we start, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. And now let's get to the video. Some folks have already enjoyed the first episode of One Piece live action, and a full description of this episode has been shared. It's really good and you can already get a sense of it. The story does have a few adaptations, but they're quite minor. We can say that about 99% of ODA's original content is present here. So, let's dive in. The first episode begins with the voice of narrator Ian McShane, a highly esteemed Hollywood actor known for his role as Blackbeard in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. As expected, he narrates the adventures of Luffy in the live-action series. The episode starts with the execution scene of Gold Roger, Mihawk, a young smoker, Shanks, and especially Monkey D. Garp, who is close to Roger, are present. Shortly after, we witness the execution, just like in the One Piece anime. Moving to the present, we see Luffy on a raft, chatting with a bird that brings news about the manga, a scene also seen in the trailer. His raft sinks, and after ending up in a barrel, Straw Hat ends up on Alvida's ship. The pirate is interrogating prisoners, trying to find out where Roronoa Zoro is. Meanwhile, we see Kobe cleaning the ship and finding Straw Hat. The young helper scolds Luffy for calling himself a pirate, branding him as scum. But our protagonist responds that not everyone is, not the one I know. Here begins a flashback, taking us back to the first pages of the One Piece manga. A very young Luffy hurting himself in front of Shanks and his crew to prove his strength. In the scene, we spot Lucky Roo, Yasopp, and Beckman. The background music features an instrumental version of Bink's Sake. The scene appears to conclude promptly. We return to the present, with Alvida discovering Luffy's presence on her ship. Alvida thinks Kobe has brought a bounty hunter on board, and that he's an accomplice. She attacks him and Luffy. However, at this moment, hero Luffy strikes back. In the One Piece manga, Luffy smiles, but in the series he's furious. He performs a Gomu Gomu no pistol and hits Alvida with full force, sending her into the sea. After that, he and Kobe leave the ship, with the boy asking Straw Hat how he can stretch his body so much. Following these words, another flashback begins. We see the scene where Luffy eats the Gomu Gomu no Mi, just like in the One Piece manga, with Shanks holding Luffy's arm as it stretches. Back to the present, Kobe reveals his dream to Luffy, to join the Navy. Luffy, however, states he wants a map to the Grand Line. The two decide to head to Shellstown to achieve their respective goals. Kobe can enter the Navy, and Luffy can search for his map there. The next scene introduces Roronoa Zoro, making his first appearance in the One Piece live action. The swordsman faces Mr. Seven, who asks him to join Baroque Works. Zoro refuses and, after a brief fight, defeats Mr. Seven by cutting him in two. Following the swordsman, we're also introduced to Nami, in a scene identical to the manga. We then return to Kobe and Luffy, who disembark in Shellstown. They decide to go to a bar, where they encounter Zoro and Nami without recognizing them. Kabaji can also be seen in the room. Rika offers the swordsman a rice cake, partly made of chocolate. However, Rika encounters Helmeppo. Captain Morgan's son becomes furious when he's attacked and takes it out on Rika. Meanwhile, the rice cake ends up on the ground. Zoro eats it and says it's good. Helmeppo also takes his anger out on Zoro, after the swordsman mocks him, particularly for his ridiculous haircut. The sailors then attack Zoro, while Nami, having seduced one of the recruits, takes his uniform. After this scene, we see the swordsman meeting Morgan to collect the reward for Mr. Seven. But since he attacked the sailors, Zoro has to pay for it. He's tied up for 7 days without food and water. On their boat, Luffy and Kobe discuss what they've seen, impressed. Straw Hat is amazed by Zoro's sword technique, while Kobe doesn't believe the Navy would harm an innocent young girl like Rika. Luffy is now ready to steal the sailor's map. Kobe stays on the ship, refusing to assist Straw Hat in theft. We first see Nami joining the returning sailors at the base. As mentioned, the pirates stole one of their uniforms. Then we see Helmeppo visiting Zoro. The swordsman becomes very irritated, especially when he sees Morgan's son holding the Wado Ichimonji sword, a sword that manga readers know is significant for Roronoa. After this, Luffy arrives where Zoro is imprisoned and invites him to join his crew, as in the One Piece manga. The swordsman says no, being a pirate bounty hunter. Despite the refusal, Luffy sets Roronoa free, and he shares his dream with Luffy to become the world's strongest swordsman. The scene shifts to Nami in the map room, searching for a path to the Grand Line. However, she's discovered by the sailors and the same recruit whose uniform she stole. Nami manages to escape the soldiers, but Luffy ends up in the room. Straw Hat ignores Nami and her threats of arrest. He knows she's not a real Marine, having overheard their previous conversation. Straw Hat then continues his search for the map, chased by Nami, amazed at Luffy's lack of stealth as he enters the base without any sneaky tactics. But then they encounter Morgan. However, Luffy and Nami manage to escape the Navy. The pirate fools Morgan, making him believe she's transferring Straw Hat to prison. Before leaving, Nami steals a key from Morgan. Luffy is impressed with her thieving skills and invites her to join his crew. After Zoro, here's a second refusal from the protagonist of One Piece. She hates pirates. The scene shifts to Zoro entering Helmeppo's room. The swordsman scares Morgan's son, who begs him not to kill him. But Roronoa says he has something worse for him. The review scene shifts to Nami and Luffy entering Morgan's room to search for the map to the Grand Line. They succeed in their attempt, but warned by the sailor who was just defeated by Nami, Morgan arrives in his room and tries to enter. Thanks to Luffy's strength, the two escape the room and end up where Zoro was imprisoned moments ago. Both are surrounded by sailors. At that moment, Zoro arrives at the scene with all three of his swords. Morgan is also present. Thus, the fight begins. Zoro and Luffy team up against the Navy captain, while Nami faces the other recruits. The battle continues until Zoro manages to hold his sword against Morgan's neck. Luffy performs a Gomu Gomu no Muchi, rubber whip, and hits Morgan in the face, defeating the sailor. After that, the three escape the base and reach the boat. However, they are joined by Helmeppo, who sports the iconic manga haircut. Morgan's son threatens the trio with 2 pistols, but fails to intimidate them. Nami, Luffy, and Zoro certainly aren't frightened by Helmeppo, especially after they discover the haircut done by Zoro himself. Out of nowhere, a punch takes down Helmeppo. It's Kobe who landed the blow. Luffy invites the youth back to the boat, but once again, Kobe refuses to follow him. He's determined to pursue his dream at any cost. Nevertheless, the two remain friends. We've arrived at the final 2 scenes of the first episode of the One Piece Netflix series. The first one shows Garp receiving a Den Den Mushi call. The Marine receives a report that the Grand Line map from Shell's Town has been stolen by a pirate. Bogard is with him and asks if it's the work of Baroque Works. Garp denies it. The Grand Line map was stolen by a pirate with a straw hat. The last scene of this first episode of the One Piece live action shows Kabaji reporting to Buggy about the stolen map from Shell's Town. The pirate responds that it's his map, and that he doesn't care how many people he'll need to kill to get it back. With his hysterical laugh, the first episode of the One Piece live action concludes. That was the spoiler. What did you think? Did you like the adaptation? I thought it was very good and very faithful. If you liked the video, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. See you next time, and thanks.